So basically, are you jumped in fear? So maybe let me start first by introducing myself. So I've been in game dev for like more than 10 years and started with point-of-click game Ballboy in 2015, released in 2015. And since then, I've been working with PewDiePie, YouTuber, who is investor in our company. He's also marketer of our projects. And so far, we released 3 games: Ballboy 1, PUBG, PUBG 2nd, Chapter 2. I mean by that. And basically, there were games, I guess, appreciated, played by more than 1.5 million people. So I guess some people like this weird and scary design of mine. So I'm the single artist in the team, but so I will show you the perspective that you might have as indie developer. So basically in our company that means like a company of 2 people. That meant I'm not only responsible for the art in the game, but also biz dev, marketing, all the going to the conventions, basically every aspect of the game. So the other half of the team during development was Arthur, who is a coder, programmer, and he did basically coded everything, but everything else, like apart from the marketing, which belonged to Pewds, who is YouTuber, and I guessed since you have someone like that in your team, you don't need much budget and like insight or vision for marketing because he drives like marketing single-handedly. But still, it means that basically, if you have a project on your in your hands, project that basically requires a lot of effort, staying creative, and at the same time overlooking every other aspect of the development. So that would be my perspective of development, art creation, which doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot go against it, because I strongly encourage you to carve your own path and find the solution that works for you. So for me, usually developing a game is like 1 year of in Ballboy 1 that finished in 13 months of whole production process. So here I'm like showing you the idea how you can create efficiently and proceed with development at fast pace, that still you can have time to overlook and deliver every other aspect of your game. So jumped in fear. So why jumped? Because the main story behind Ballboy in Jar of Despair is this possessed gem that Ballboy encounters in the basement. So I'm giving the mark to play the trailer. Technical stuff, can I count on you? Let's play the trailer. That's my mark. And you're gonna see, basically, to have some insight into the project, how the trailer looks.
You could feel it in the air. Was a night of great despair. Little bold boy, unaware, dreamt a hell of a nightmare, tossing, turning in his bed. Even Mob Dog rose his head for the cracks of Sparky Plug. There's no jammy in the junk. Screamed the lad and woken up, gasped and squeezed with his pup. Salty tears caught some glare. Was a night of great despair.
So I must say, after some time looking at this teaser makes me want to change a lot of things. So I hope you have better opinion on it than myself at this time. So let's get to the topic of the presentation. So we want to create appealing characters, and first of all, is the main concept of the where we want to go with this. And I strongly encourage you to go into highly stylized projects, because if you are a solo artist in the team, they basically require much less of the time to create. And basically there are very strong examples that you can see here that were my inspirations. So like the Cartoon Network style, which is the look of the game and how you perceive it most of the times. And here, like very ugly looking and disgusting close-ups in the SpongeBob series. And finally, regarding animation, the latest Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, which is the latest entry in the short series with Mickey Mouse, which kind of looks like a Flash animation. So moving on with the main tools required would be your sketchbook, where you can basically create your concept very fast, then Photoshop to create all of the assets, and Spine. And to move from Photoshop to Spine, we require this kind of plugin, and then, as we did with this project, we require Unity to put everything together, and we export from Spine JSON and atlases as PNGs. So first of all, my concept to create fast and be able to find the right expression would be to use like Simple Pencil and go with the ultimate, like the really look as generally as possible, and find this really simple lines that can describe the expressions, movement, the kind of poses that you're looking for, or the facial expressions. And I would say even the simplest shape, like the circle of the head, if you put a face on it, in my opinion, the most important aspect would be to find the right proportions. So what would be the scale and size of the face? What is the perfect line to make it appealing? So rather than putting effort on creating like various gradients or adding any kind of detail, I would encourage you to find the highly stylized, very simplified look with the right proportions. And like modeling in the ZBrush, you've got these kind of levels of adding details. So when you start with the top one, you want to find the perfect proportions, like the right solution of what would be the right aspects of like head and body relations, and what would be the size, scale of the eyes, and the basically right lines that you want to go for. And here, as you can see, we've got Photoshop as the second tool. So basically in the Ballboy Jar of Despair, we've got basic circle, which is like the first thing that I created for the game, is that circle, because I take off always with creating main character, and everything is created regarding to the character scale. So this circle was first, then I found the right body proportions for that, kind of kawaii styling, if you will, and of face, and basically we just have gradient there. So not very sophisticated setup, if you ask me, and I even like to challenge myself. So most of the art, most of the in terms of the last production schedule, I challenged myself not to use Wacom tablet at all. So I tried to create every visual aspect with mouse, with shapes, and basically to prove myself that you can, if you find like right angle and use as low Bezier knots as possible, still you can create appealing art that could, find its audience and win awards such as Google Masterpiece or Best Character Design by Intel. So then I decided that I don't want to do that with shapes. So eventually I used tablet for such stuff like you can see here. So I cannot say that everything was created with mouse, but you've got the most of the visual except for the interface, every visual aspect, every environment, prop, and character was created with Photoshop shape only. And this is the shapes that you can see here. This is only like mock-up to illustrate how 2D lighting system in Unity gonna be used at the ending stage. So moving on with that. So the next is spine. So really easy to import. You export things in JSON, which gives you right placement of things, imports all the layers as separate stuff. And as I can see, here we've got MovDoc model, which is basically copies the head of Bald Boy. So that's exactly the same shape with different color. And we've got very similar eyes. And as you can see, really simplistic setup of only a couple of bones. And here we've got, that's not even two different drawings. That's basically flipped, just mirrored in one axis to give you the feeling of flapping the wings. And like within this production, if we counted by like daily activities, I was responsible for creating as many as 16 animations per day. So having so many animations, you basically, if you decided to have such a time span of production, you cannot put much more effort and to create each and every animation, and I prefer to take off with such a concept of or motion draft, and then if I find another time, I make another beauty pass to add more detail. So after using spine, that was basically rather other half of the team responsibility, putting everything in Unity. So here we've got like playable character, which is in this case the Grand Paraffin, who is grandpa of Bald Boy, and as you can see, the similar shape of the head. So that's the last stop in the pipeline, and then let's move to the main topic. So playable characters. So basically, as I mentioned, we started with Bald Boy character with the round head, and I used this module to create MovDoc, who is like flying pet dog of Bald Boy, and the same module is used within Grand Paraffin Head, who is basically an old oil lamp fueled by paraffin. So that kinds of give this additional appeal to the notion that this is kind of newer, younger electrical lamp, and this is fueled by this all kind of lamp invented by Łukasik a couple hundred years ago. Polish scientist, by the way. So moving on with the character design. So I started with the poses. So before even animating, I like to find what would be the expressions of Bald Boy. So kind of default and happy face during the game, how faces will change, and I draw inspiration from Adventure Time, as you might see, and various cartoons, and especially I wanted to go for these really extreme looks to even redraw face totally, if he expresses something different and go as far to create even different shape once Balboy is possessed. And as you can see here, we've got the delight after eating a gem, becoming scared, sleeping. And here you've got this idea that basically this is light bulb, so Balboy can unscrew his head and detach it from the head, from the torso. So that's kind of the concept which already was imported in the first part of the game, but right now with the second part I explored it even more. Then we've got like charging. I didn't have even a clue during creation of that pose if it's gonna be used in the game. I just wanted to test that concept, and eventually it hasn't been used in the game. But you know, I started with like going to for the poses and what is actually possible with this character. So having some laughs being discussed, and then this is like interesting pose. Like we've got like notion here that the torso starts to be possessed and Balboy is afraid of it. So going even further with the expressions, we've got these close-ups, and it reminds like this SpongeBob disgusting static images where you can see the nasty details. So basically, I go so far with it as with this one, redrawing it with tablet, adding some veins on top of that, and I think it still can be believable. And within this world, this create illusion of highly intense emotion, even as like Balboy wakes up from the nightmare. We've got multiplied eyes, and basically it still holds up, in my opinion, to deliver really intense cartoony emotions. So exploring further like this body switching mechanics, as I mentioned, I wanted to add something more to what was already delivered within the first part and go even as extreme as being able to screw your head into the jar of sausages and creating sausage body with extendable legs, which is gonna be used in one parts of the game, and then in the same body you're gonna swim octopus style, so that's another use of sausages, and basically go as far as to create dramatic twist within the plot of the game, as possessed tick bites Balboy in a butt, then it makes the torso become possessed, and then we've got a monster within the game which is called Torson. So it becomes like separate entity, and it's really interesting mechanic to be able to only roll your head and run from your torso, and it's like dramatic part of the game, and I think it's really insane and creates weird tension to fart not fart, interesting slip of tongue, because farting is involved in the game, but to fight your own torso. So it's kind of give you this like contradictory vibes of like trying to save it and fight it at the same time. So Gemocities, which are like monsters, so basically taking off with the simple design like you've seen in the trailer, we've got Possessed Gem, which is not actually used anywhere aside of this teaser. We've got Jump Tick, as you've seen so far, and Torso, which has been already discussed. So that leaves Lampster, the main nemesis of the game. Lampster is kind of a Luxo lamp from Pixar logo, and basically he wants to steal your head to be able to, for whatever reason, to screw it inside of the slot here and light his own path. So the main drama of the game, main plot is basically Lampster is trying to lure you into his hideout in the basement and be able to retrieve your head for his own jammy purposes. So moving on with monsters, So we didn't want to go so dramatic right away with the monsters, so we take off with really simple enemy, which is centipede, and it's kind part of the puzzle in the first room in the basement, and basically it's consisted of modules and just gives you the hint that it could be made out of gem because it has this pinkish or purplish color, if you will. And here you've got some poses. So basically, if you have some interaction with centipedes, basically they react with just changing of their heads. And actually, eventually, none of this was used in the game, apart of the first one, but just give you idea of the character charts are prepared like right away of my like ideas, what could be what can be done with this character in the game. So centipede like easiest enemy, the first one that you encounter in a game, and we don't want to go overall dramatic with it. So really simplistic design. And then we've got jump flea, which is used in the part of the game when you play as Moth Dog. So this clumps of hair, as you can see, is basically close up of the Moth Dog hair. And in the game, you've got part when you need to clean and kill off the bugs on your pet. So it involves mechanic of laying eggs and giving, as you can see here, and giving birth to more fleas that hatch from eggs. So really simple design, as you can see, and I wanted to like explore the overall shapes, overall dynamic, and because I wanted them to jump around, to have strong legs, and then to give bites to the Moth Dog skin. So basically, if they want to suck out the blood, they look like this with really nasty butthole at top of the character. So like moving from this initial designs, here you've got 3 final poses of character utilized in the game, and basically that's completely redrawn each of the pose, and I utilize bone system for each of the pose to animate specific movement. But once you've got go to the extreme movement, you switch the pose completely to being, you know, different mesh in different atlases. So I really like to go with this complete redrawing of the character for each pose and looking really for the extremes in them. So moving on, Jumbat, really simple enemy in the dungeons, just to mention him here, and Snail Face, which is like a more important one, that is the guy that comes out of the basement and is looking to hunt the grandpa. And in this part of game, we play as Moth Dog. So basically, we've got simple puzzle where we need its dandruff from here, and we just need to shut down his both eyes to render him blind, and then just collect the dandruff. If you don't do this, he uses his hand to slap your paw, so you cannot do that. And that was another opportunity to create this really disgusting close-up that I really like. And I can see I initially started with this Photoshop shapes, but then added some additional details on tablet, as well as the final beauty pass in the game. So that's another look on the snail face in the part of the game when we basically can see the kitchen, the dining room from outside the house, and we need to interact with the grandpa, and we are playing as Moth Dog, as you can see here, because that's our paw. And basically that's broken glass, so another chance to show our character in different perspective and to explain for the player, give more information of hints. What are the details of the character that we usually see from far away in the game. So moving on with Thorson, which is really important enemy, and we're gonna meet him couple of times in the game. So that's his idle pose when he's basically walking around, and as you can see here, the hole where Balbo used to screw his head in right now is just became something which looks like a mouth, and I used wrinkles to create something that could remind eyes here, and basically hole that was once like head socket right now is basically a huge mouth that hunts you, and once you become caught by torso, that's the scary pose. I removed the graphic assets, so basically I removed the frames from the animation to make this part invisible, and then I recreate that in the torso, so that's different head in different atlas, and I show the swallowing process, which eventually ends in belly becoming light source, and that makes you need to play the puzzle once again. So that's basically the failure state in the game. So that's another view of the torso, chance to show butt in different perspective, more of disgusting details, and just to give a chance to player to see something and learn more about the world, which you usually look onto from far away. So I really like exploring this idea that even via almost static images you can tell like different story or add to the story, which then once you play the next level gives you more of the this perception, or even add some sounds to it that can give you more hints, ideas of how this character moves, some squishy sounds like noodle movement or something like that, which creates the perception, like wider perception of character that human minds put together from different scenes in the game. And here, oh, that needed translation, so that's Jam House. And basically that was the authors of the game. So, oh, sorry for that. So that's me myself here. That's a coder of the game, and that's our junior coder who help us with some of the systems in the game. So that's Arthur and Łukasz here, and he represents Stinking Feet. That's one head that infects you with the jammy ticks, and here in my head we've got the wax from the ear used as a hand to deflect moth dog which is flying around. So in this level you fly around, and we go as far as extreme as like making the whole world possessed by jam. So with the plot proceeding we get more and more of disgusting possessed jam. So moving on to the confrontation with Lampster, which is main nemesis, we introduce it in the game firstly by showing like this is a cutscene, not a close-up. So by this example you can see that I create like additional new scene with different shapes. Basically that's totally different redrawn. Every aspect is not necessarily represents what is in the character sheet, because we've got shapes completely changed, stretched, some additional details just to show perspective. And in such a scene we've got really simplistic movement as the moving of the face here, like switching this tube a little bit, changing lighting, animation of the candles here, and that's how you can see the Lampster character first, and then in the game, in the first part, which is of the confrontation with main boss of the game, we've got this view, and he's shown in the smaller scale. Basically, we can see whole character here approaching, and Lamster lair, and here we've got some environmental storytelling which shows you some disgusting jump cult and all the props to tell you the backstory, because I haven't mentioned that actually there are no words used in the Ballboy franchise, so whole story is created only by movement and environment storytelling, and this is to tell the player that it is some sick jammy cult, and Lamster has got this bulby skulls, light bulb skulls in his lair. We've got family portrait, all the props to show you the backstory of Lamster, introduce Lamster character, and then move to the more intense phase of the game. Once Lamster captures Balboy's head, then he acquires electricity powers, try to shoot off the Moff Dog character. Grandpa is narcoleptic, so he is asleep throughout the whole game. And that's the like different approach to how to show the character. So it takes up bigger part of the screen. Body changes totally different originally to become totally different, because this is in fact the chicken body, which was in the first installment of the game, with some huge claws added on top of that. And we've got this is like the part where game switches from light puzzle game to like reflex based puzzle, which is intended to be harder and require more skill and tries to beat this part of the game. And then once Lamster manages to catch Moff Dog, we've got possessed Balboy, who changes to this reddish color. We've got possessed Moff Dog, which becomes part of the Lamster body, and after defeating it in Grandpa's dream, we've got like last happy scene when we can see like whole family gathered together. Grandpa is still being asleep, and Lamster burning in flames. So that's basically the same scene, although redrawn again to show different parts of the detail, different colors, just to create this different mood with different lighting, but still it doesn't switch as an animation. It's like completely redrawn scene to give you this another angle to look at this Lamster lair to understand this scene. So I prefer to add this picture with rough cuts as completely redrawn and reimagined scenes, like to be able to tell more to the player about how this environment look. So that that is like basically brings us to the last part, which means that Ballboy Jar of Despair will be released soon, and you can wish it on Steam. The demo was available on the Steam Fest at some point, but I guess it's gonna be go online again soon, because release is intended during this Halloween. And as you can see, that's our Steam page. Some arts, as you can see at the bottom of the picture, and that's all of the story of character design. I guess we've got some times, and I hope you've got some interesting questions, because I will be happy to answer them about character design or anything else. Or if you have just kind of questions as indie creators have, or how to be able to deliver your game, because I was not only responsible for the art in the game, but like every major aspect except for the programming. No questions, guys? So in that case, thank you, and I'm giving back you additional minutes for your pleasure, and see you at the after party in this evening. So thanks.